Here is a strange question. What happens to trash before trash cans exist? Not plastic bags, soda cans, broken phones, or food wrappers, but the older kind of waste. Bones cracked open for marrow, shells left after a meal, ash from a fire, broken stone flakes, torn animal hide, rotten scraps, old bedding, damaged tools, and the smell of things a group no longer wants near the body. Today, trash disappears because a system takes it away. You close a bin, tie a bag, push it outside, and the problem leaves your hands. But for your ancestors, nothing truly vanished. Everything stayed somewhere. That makes ancient trash more important than it sounds. Waste was not just mess. It could attract predators, it could spread smell, it could bring insects, it could make camp uncomfortable, unsafe, or impossible to sleep in. A pile of bones near a resting place might tell scavengers that food had been there. Rotting scraps could turn a good shelter into a place the group wanted to leave. Ash could help or harm, depending on where it gathered. Broken tools could be useless, or they could become evidence that someone had worked there before. Trash was not only what people threw away, it was information, danger, memory, and sometimes a clue for the next person who came back. The strange part is that ancient humans did not live in a clean world, but they also did not live inside endless filth the way some people imagine. They moved, reused, burned, buried, scattered, avoided, and sometimes simply abandoned what could not be kept. A camp was not a modern home with permanent rooms and weekly collection. It was a living space that had to remain workable long enough for eating, sleeping, making tools, caring for children, and staying alert to danger. If waste made that space worse, the group had to respond. So the real question is not whether ancient humans had trash. Of course they did. Every animal that eats creates leftovers, and every toolmaker creates fragments. The deeper question is how a human group handled waste before cities, bins, sewers, sanitation rules, or anyone whose job was to clean the street. What did they keep? What did they throw away? What did they burn, bury, reuse, or leave behind? And how did those forgotten scraps become one of the clearest ways modern archaeology reads the lives of people who left no written words behind? The mistake is imagining ancient trash as either nothing or disaster. One version says, early humans lived so close to nature that waste was not a real problem, because everything came from animals, plants, stone, wood, bone, and fire. Another version imagines prehistoric camps as filthy piles of rot, smoke, bones, insects, and smell. Both pictures are too simple. Ancient waste was more natural than modern waste, but natural does not mean harmless. A rotten carcass is natural, so is disease. So are flies, scavengers, and the sharp edge of a broken bone under a child's foot. The better question is not, did ancient humans clean up like us? They did not have modern sanitation, but they also did not need to solve the same trash problem modern cities created. Their waste was local, temporary, and tied to movement. A small group staying in one place for a few days could tolerate things a settled town could not. If a camp became dirty, smelly, dangerous, or empty of food, the group could move. Mobility was one of the oldest cleaning systems. Leaving was sometimes easier than scrubbing. That changes the frame. Trash was not only an object. It was a relationship between waste, time, place, and risk. A fishbone beside a river was different from a fishbone inside a sleeping shelter. Ash in a hearth could preserve heat, mark a useful fire spot, or become a mess that needed clearing. Stone flakes left from toolmaking could be ignored, reused, or avoided. Shells could pile up near coastal camps. Bones could be cracked, burned, scattered, or left where scavengers would find them away from people. The same material could be useful in one place and dangerous in another. So ancient waste management was probably less about cleanliness as a moral idea, and more about keeping life workable. Does this smell attract animals? Does this pile block movement? Will insects gather here? Can this broken piece still be used? Is the camp worth maintaining, or is it time to leave? Long before trash cans, humans were already making choices about what belonged near the body, what belonged near the fire, what belonged at the edge of camp, and what should be left behind. Now remove the modern idea that trash is something separated from daily life. In the ancient world, waste was not hidden behind a kitchen door, locked inside a plastic bag, or carried away by a truck before sunrise. It was close. It sat near the fire, near the sleeping place, near the place where tools were made, or just beyond the point where people stopped wanting to smell it. A camp had no walls dividing clean space from dirty space. The group had to create those boundaries by habit. Think about what ordinary life produced. A meal left bones, shells, seeds, skins, grease, blood, charcoal, and scraps too rotten to keep. Toolmaking left sharp stone flakes that could cut bare feet. Fire left ash, half-burned wood, smoke stains, and burned bone. Sleeping areas collected grass, leaves, animal hides, hair, insects, and body smell. A child could crawl through the wrong place if adults did not control where leftovers gathered. The problem became sharper because ancient humans shared space with hungry creatures. A smell that meant finished meal to people could mean come closer to wolves, hyenas, bears, insects, birds, or smaller scavengers. A camp did not need to be perfectly clean to be safer, but it needed some order. Leftovers near sleeping bodies were different from leftovers thrown away from camp. A broken tool near a work area was different from a sharp flake hidden where children stepped. Waste had geography. Time mattered too. A group that stayed one night could leave more behind than a group that planned to return. A seasonal camp needed more care because people expected to use it again. A cave or rock shelter could collect layers of ash, bones, stone fragments, and old bedding over repeated visits. Open-air camps might be cleaned by wind, rain, animals, and movement, but nature did not only remove waste, it also smelled it and sometimes pulled danger toward it. So ancient trash existed inside a world with no permanent sanitation system, no private rooms, no sealed containers, and no guarantee that waste would stay harmless. The question was practical: keep it, reuse it, burn it, move it, avoid it, or leave. Cleanliness was not a modern-looking rule. It was the daily art of keeping a living space usable before the living space turned against you. The evidence begins with the thing archaeologists find most often: what people left behind: bones, shells, ash, charcoal, stone flakes, burned seeds, broken tools, and old hearths survive better than soft skin, wood, baskets, or spoken memory. In many ancient places, the clearest trace of ordinary life is not a palace or a monument. It is waste. A scatter of flakes can show where tools were made. Burned bone can suggest cooking, fuel use, or cleanup by fire. Shell piles can show repeated meals near water. Trash becomes a shadow of behavior. The first layer is food waste. When humans butchered animals or gathered shellfish, leftovers did not disappear. Bones could be cracked for marrow, cut for tools, burned in fires, carried away by scavengers, or left in piles near living areas. The pattern matters. A few scattered bones tell a different story from repeated layers of bones and ash in the same place. It suggests that people returned, ate, worked, cleaned, or abandoned space in recognizable ways. Ancient trash was not random noise. It was often patterned activity. The second layer is tool-making debris. Stone tools are useful to archaeologists because stone lasts. Every time someone shaped a blade, scraper, or point, small flakes fell around the work area. Those flakes were sharp, sometimes useful, and sometimes just dangerous litter. Their location can reveal where people sat, worked, repaired tools, or taught others. A floor covered with tiny cutting edges was not the same as a sleeping place. Even without written rules, space had organization. The third layer is fire. Hearths collected ash, charcoal, burned scraps, cracked stone, and smoke darkened surfaces. Fire could reduce some waste, harden or destroy other materials, and mark a center of activity. But hearth waste also had to be managed. Too much ash can smother a fire. Too much smell can make a camp worse. Repeated hearths in caves and shelters show that people often returned to known places, and every return added another layer of what had been used, eaten, burned, or left. The final layer is caution. Archaeological trash does not let us see every cleaning choice directly. Wind, rain, animals decay, and later humans can move or destroy evidence. A pile of bones may reflect human behavior, scavenger activity, or both. A clean-looking area may be truly cleaned or simply poorly preserved. But the broad pattern still points in one direction. Ancient humans were not living without waste management. They were managing waste through reuse, burning, spatial separation, movement, and abandonment, long before trash became a city problem. The mechanism begins with the oldest waste rule: keep dangerous things away from useful space. Ancient humans did not need a written sanitation code to understand that some leftovers belonged near the fire, some belonged at the edge of camp, and some should not stay near sleeping bodies at all. Smell was one guide, sharpness was another. If something attracted insects, cut feet, drew scavengers, or made rest harder, it had to be moved, burned, reused, or avoided. The first mechanism was separation by distance. A small camp could create order by placing activities in different spots. Toolmaking could happen in one area, butchering in another, sleeping in another, and refuse at the edge. This did not have to look neat by modern standards. It only had to reduce trouble. Bones and scraps too close could change the night. Sharp stone flakes under bare feet could turn a work area into a hazard. The ancient solution was not a trash can. It was spatial memory. This place is for eating, this place is for cutting, this place is where the bad smell goes. The second mechanism was reuse. In a world where every useful material had a cost, trash was often not trash yet. A bone could become a tool. A hide scrap could become binding. A broken stone edge could still cut. Ash could help manage a hearth. The line between waste and resource was thinner because people could not buy replacements. Something became trash only when its usefulness fell below its risk, effort, or annoyance. The third mechanism was fire. Burning could reduce smell, destroy soft scraps, harden some materials, and turn messy remains into ash. But fire was not magic cleanup. It created its own waste, and too much ash could make a hearth worse. So fire helped manage trash, but it also needed management. The final mechanism was mobility. When waste built up, food declined, insects gathered, or danger increased, moving camp could reset the problem. This was one of the great differences between mobile foragers and later settled communities. Ancient humans did not always have to make one place clean forever. They had to keep it usable long enough. Trash management was not about making the world spotless. It was about keeping the group alive, rested, and able to return when the land was useful again. Imagine a camp near the edge of a river after a long day of eating, cutting, and repairing tools. The fire is low now, glowing under a skin of ash. Around it lie the signs of a meal: cracked bones, fish spines, shells, scraps of hide, and dark stains where fat touched the ground. A child reaches for a shiny stone flake because it catches the light. An adult quickly takes it away. It is not a toy. It is the sharp trash of toolmaking, small enough to forget, sharp enough to open skin. No one announces a cleanup. There is no rule carved into wood, no basket marked for waste, no person whose only job is to remove what the group has used. But the camp still changes. Someone kicks ash back into the hearth. Someone carries larger bones away from the sleeping place. A few scraps are tossed beyond the circle of firelight, far enough that the smell is no longer beside the bodies. A useful bone is kept. A broken point is examined before it is thrown aside. The group is not making the place spotless. They are making it livable. Near the edge of camp, the waste gathers in a rough zone. It is not random, even if it looks messy. The good space is closer to the fire. The sleeping space stays clearer. The cutting place has flakes under it, so children are pulled away from that ground. The smelly pieces move outward. Insects find some of it. A scavenging bird waits in a tree. Farther away, something larger may smell the bones before morning. That is why distance matters. By the next day, the group may move on. The river is lower, the animals have shifted, or the camp has done what it needed to do. They take tools, hides, embers if they can, and anything still useful. What remains is the shape of a life after the people leave. Ash, flakes, bones, shells, stains, and objects that cross the line from useful to unwanted. To them it may be waste. To the future it becomes a message. The twist is that ancient trash was not only a problem ancient humans had to solve. It is also one of the main reasons you can know anything about them at all. The things they did not keep became the things that stayed. A broken flake, a burned bone, a shell pile, a dark patch of ash, a hearth used again and again. These leftovers can speak more clearly than the objects people treasured and carried away. To your ancestors, trash was often the end of usefulness. To archaeology, it is the beginning of evidence. A clean tool taken from camp disappears with the traveler. A wooden handle rots. A story dies with the mouth that told it, but the waste left behind can remain in the ground, layered by time. It can show where people sat, what they ate, where they made tools, how fire was used, and whether a place was visited once or returned to many times. The unwanted becomes a record. That is the strange reversal. Ancient humans may have tried to move waste away from the body, but they did not erase it from the world. Their trash marked the edge of camp, the center of work, the remains of meals, and the rhythm of returning. What looked like mess was often structure. What looked like abandonment was sometimes memory. So trash was never just trash. It was risk when it smelled too close. It was resource when it could be reused. It was cleanup when it was burned. It was freedom when the group could leave it behind. And thousands of years later, it became a message from people who never meant to leave one. The ancient world did not write much down, but it threw things away. Today, trash feels like something that should disappear. You finish a meal, throw away the wrapper, close the lid, and trust that the problem has moved somewhere else. The bin makes waste feel private. The truck makes it feel temporary. The landfill makes it feel distant. Modern life is built on this strange comfort. You can create trash every day and almost never see the full shape of it. But your ancestors did not have that luxury. Their waste stayed close enough to matter. A bone pile could change the smell of camp. A broken flake could cut a child's foot. Rotting scraps could invite insects or scavengers. Ash could protect a fire or choke it. Every leftover forced a practical question. Is this still useful? Is it dangerous? Should it be moved, burned, reused, or left behind? Trash was not a hidden category. It was part of survival. That old logic has not completely left you. You still feel disgust when food rots. You still want bad smells away from sleeping space. You still separate sharp things, dirty things, reusable things, and things that feel unsafe to touch. Even in a modern home, your brain makes invisible zones: clean counter, dirty sink, trash corner, safe floor, dangerous object. The tools have changed, but the instinct is old. Keep the useful close. Push the risky away. The difference is scale. Ancient trash usually returned to the land faster, or stayed in places small enough for a group to leave. Modern trash can outlive the person who threw it away. Plastic, metal, chemicals, batteries, screens, and synthetic materials do not behave like bones, shells, ash, and stone. Your ancestors had waste, but they did not have a planet-sized disposal problem. Their trash could threaten a camp. Ours can threaten rivers, animals, soil, and oceans far beyond the place where it was made. So what did ancient humans do with their trash? They handled it the way survival demanded. They reused what still had value. They burned what fire could reduce. They moved dangerous leftovers away from bodies. They separated work areas from sleeping areas. And when a place became too used, too empty, or too dirty, they could move on. The ancient world is gone, but the question remains. Every society reveals itself by what it keeps, what it wastes, and where it sends the things it no longer wants to see. Your ancestors left bones, ash, shells, and stone flakes. You leave plastic, receipts, packaging, and broken devices. Different trash, same mirror. What a species throws away always says something about how it lives.